Hello, friends. Mali Panthadith here, CEO of the SOAR Community Network and co-founder of the SOAR Community Nebula. I'm delighted to be with you today as we bring to you 1,000 champions of change and community builders from all over the world. We have someone special with us today, and her name is Sarva Rajendra. Thank you so much for being with us.
Oh, thank you, Molly. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Well, I know a little bit about your background, but our audience does not. So please reintroduce yourself and let them know what you're currently working on in the world. What's this beautiful, special social impact organization that you're building?
Well, I am the executive director for Sahasra Deepika Foundation for Education, and it's an organization that primarily focuses on girls' education in India and Bangalore. It's a project that my parents began when they were retiring. They had always wanted to do something to serve other people. And living in the US, they always took every opportunity for community service or helping neighbors or doing whatever they could. But I think they were always restless to go back to India, where they knew there was so much abject poverty, so many kids who didn't have opportunities like we have here, and no safety net to even give them a little bit of a help. And it really grew out of my father's experience. He had grown up very poor. His father passed away. He was the youngest in a family of 8, and he really had no opportunity to even dream about going on and achieving any professional level of education, let alone coming to the US. And it was when he was in middle school, and he'd go to school dressed badly because he just didn't have money, and things were really difficult. So he kind of, kept trying, kept dreaming about a better life, but nobody really recognized him or did anything. So he kind of thought that was just some kind of a maybe some way, somehow it would happen. But a teacher, I called him to the front of the room and told him in front of the class how wonderfully he had done on an assignment, and how he knew that my father was going to go very far in his life. And it's just amazing to show the power of someone else's encouragement, that, that was what it took for him to suddenly feel empowered enough to go on and earn scholarships and gradually, get his degree in engineering, come to the US and build this great life for us. So it's just that one little thing was a catalyst for what I'm working on now. And so when they started going back, they kind of just took a leap of faith, went to India, started this project, put an ad in the paper that they were open to help with residential education for kids. And over the past 21 years, going through so many ups and downs and learning the system, and coming from the US, it's very difficult to go back and learn all the rules and regulations. They built this organization, and I, over time, from just helping mom and dad, really fell in love with everything that was happening there, and the joy on the children's faces, understanding, it's not, a lot of times people make it sound like, everything is so easy, but it's not. I mean, these kids they have parents, or they don't have parents that care for them anymore. Sometimes things, are very difficult for them, but just seeing how much that power of encouragement carrying forward has made to them, how much that's meant in their lives, has really inspired me. So I've kind of now devoting myself fully to the work in India. And that is something that I just kind of switched over to completely. I was trying to do this and work a regular job for the past many years, and I kind of fully devoted and go to India several times a year, and I'm constant touch, and really want to not only do it as a daughter for my parents' legacy, but because I believe in that, and because I want to make this part of my life. So it's a long answer to your question, but that's how I got to this point. And kind of going from doing what all the things that I had to do, and have done well and learned from in my career in other aspects, but now I can really pursue this with a great deal of passion.
Well, our series is all
Uh-huh.
about community builders and
Uh-huh.
those that are change agents in whatever area of work that they're doing to create social impact. And it
Uh-huh.
sounds to me that you certainly and your parents certainly qualify for the
Thank
series.
you.
The question that I have, I believe you just answered it, but if there's
Mm-hmm.
anything else you want to dive into or other folks you want to highlight, um, who has been a thoughtful, conscious, mindful, compassionate leader in your life that has helped you, developed you, and mentored you into the person that you are today, and having you be this, wanting to be this community builder? So if you want to highlight your parents more, that's fine. But if there are other folks or maybe a person that really
Sure.
stands out, I'd love to hear that.
You know, well, of course, my parents are big role models and mentors, especially my mother. Seeing her personal growth as well as her professional growth in the capacity of leading with this organization with my father, and also so many of the strong women who have embraced what we are doing and have helped us as volunteers, as trustees. They have also been my role models and guides. And I have to say that there are so many people that I can't specifically name that I've learned from along the way. You know, I like to think of each day as an opportunity to see what I can learn from others and observe. And I think that through the women like Dana Hudson, who's in your network, and others who are associated with our board, through women I have met through organizations like Vital Voices, and even women that I admire, like Melinda Gates and others whose works have really influenced me. I think that all of that put together has really helped me to kind of be mentored in a way, to think about how I do things and strive to do better. Because I think that, you know, there are so many role models just amongst us, to be honest, that I feel that I try to grab whatever nuggets of learning I can from seeing how they handle all the situations that come up.
Now, as you travel the world and you go back and forth to India and
Hmm.
here, and also with your previous work, and you've been around wonderful people who are creating positive social impact. When you think of those community builders and change agents, what are some of the characteristics that are consistent, that you admire, that show up all the time?
I think one of the biggest characteristics that I really admire is their courage. I think especially when you are dealing with issues of overcoming cultural norms, or even dealing with a parent who doesn't understand why their child needs to be educated, or going into a forum and really speaking up for what you believe in. I
Mm.
think courage is really essential to take that first step to make that social change happen. Another thing I think is really authenticity. Being, if you are true to what you're doing, people do sense that right away, and they really can understand right away. You know, we've all seen people who are not so authentic but give a wonderful message, but that believability, that genuineness is not there. And I think a real leader has to be truly genuine and authentic in what they say and what they do, and that has to marry up so that you know, you are walking your talk, you know, and talking your walk too, I guess. So I think those are the two things that I think are really important to me, is the courage and authenticity.
How would you How would you describe yourself as a community builder or change agent? That's the first question. And the second question to also ask is, are there other movements, initiatives, projects, organizations that you are committed to advancing in terms of their mission?
Sure. So just going back to the I'm sorry, I forgot the first
The
question.
first question
Let
is
me think. Yes.
how would you describe yourself as a community builder and a community
Okay.
change agent?
Oh my gosh. I never really thought of myself that way, Molly, to be honest with you. I just kind of felt like I was doing what I felt was necessary. I think that everybody in a way can be a community builder. I think the main thing is learning how to connect with other people on a level of beyond like what we do or where we live or what you make or anything, and just kind of connecting on the issues that are important, whether it's you have a child, I have a child, we want to both see them educated and we want to see them prosper in this world. So how are we going to accomplish that so that they can grow up together and make a good community? Because if your child isn't prospering and mine is, and then there's so many other issues that come to the forefront. So I feel like my contribution, if you will, or my way of trying to build a community is trying to really understand the community and the people who live in it, and try to learn what I can from them and listen a lot. I think that's part of it. And as far as like other organizations, I'm on the co-chair for DC Council for Vital Voices, which is a global organization that their slogan is invest in women, improve the world. And they support women leaders around the world. And I have learned tremendously from meeting some of those women who work in everything from human trafficking, education, health space, anything you can think of, but they're getting the support they need to develop their leadership skills to help the next generation and to see their vision come to light. I especially have learned a lot about the human trafficking areas that still, no matter what you hear, it constantly shocks you. And I think it also made me realize that when people would talk about safety, especially for the girls in India, I guess I wasn't really thinking in those terms, but it woke me up to realize that safety doesn't just mean that nobody's going to come in and like rob you or something. Like it almost sounds naive, but I think we get into that trap of thinking like we're living here necessarily, but the safety is a more important issue for girls and women in general. So that's a really important organization to me, and I'm really happy they're based in Washington, and that I've been able to at least learn and connect with those women leaders.
Great. Well, we all know that life isn't always beautiful and happy. So when you've gone through some difficult times and gone through some challenges, is there a motto, perhaps a philosophy, or even a quote that helps you, that you turn to, that you can share with our audience listeners?
When there are difficult times, I think of, oh my gosh, I wish I had it in front of me, but I think that I think of two things that there's always a quote that says, Lord, you won't give me more today than I can handle. And I always feel very strongly that uh, through my own personal faith that, I have that extra help to kind of get through things. I always try to remind myself that things, don't last that way forever, and that there's always a way to find a solution to something. So my personal philosophy is if you keep doing the right thing, eventually it's going to work the right way.
Just keep
And I've
going.
seen that happen. So I do a lot of positive affirmations and a lot of positive thinking, because I feel like if you're on the right track, it may take a long time, but you will get there.
Right. So I heard keep
Uh,
going and keep the faith.
keep the faith, exactly.
Okay, so if you could share with us what a better world would look like through your eyes,
Oh,
how would
wow.
you describe it? What would we be doing? How would we be operating?
I think in a better world, we would probably have a greater understanding that we are part of a community. I think that we don't have that as much anymore. You know, to some extent we do, but I think our lives are much more fragmented. In a better world, I think that people would be more conscious and aware that each person has a role to play to making life better for everybody. If you think of a long time ago, and even in the smaller communities, I think that was what made them so memorable for some people, was that you had the feeling that somebody cared about you and that somebody was looking out for you, so that everybody had a feeling of belonging. And I think in my ideal world, people would have that feeling of belonging.
Very beautiful. That's in my ideal world too.
Thank
So,
you.
Sarva, what is the best way for our community to reach you? And is there any particular ask? How can we support you? And again, how do people learn more about you and your organization?
Oh, well, Molly, our website is www.sdie.org. They can learn more about the organization and contact me as well through that. And I think if people would like to be able to support us in any way through not only, you know, we don't always want to just ask for like a donation or something. We want people to also take this. I think the ideal of Sahasra Deepika, which means 1,000 lights, is that each person has the duty to light the life of a child in need. And it doesn't really matter whether that child is in India or in Loudoun County or anywhere in the US. But if each one did that, then that would be a world-changing experience. So I think that is my specific ask, is that if somebody listening to this would go out and do something for somebody and try to make their lives better and take an active interest in their community and their neighbors, I think that would be a great gift.
Well, thank you so much, Sarva, for your time today and for your
Thank
brilliance
you.
and for your beautiful, beautiful smile and light that you put
Oh,
into the world. It's
thank
so
you,
appreciated.
Molly.
It's so appreciated. And thank you for all that you do for all the young people, women, young
Thank
girls
you.
in India. We really appreciate that. And we appreciate you. For those that are watching, please remember to nominate yourself and those in your community who's making a great difference. We'd love to feature you and share all the wonderful initiatives that you're launching or you're growing and expanding. Please visit us at nebula.soarcommunitynetwork.com. Thank you so much, everyone.
Oh, thank you, Molly.
Thank you, Sarva.